That's how it
So
works.
I actually really like this topic because there's a lot of confusion on it from people on how to actually value, say, a rental property,
Mhm.
where it's completely different than, say, a single family home, where, as you said, the houses in this neighborhood are running between $300,000 to $400,000, whereas the rents you might be able to get 2,000. Whereas in a multifamily unit, if you're an investor and you're looking at a multifamily property, can you tell the audience how you would actually value that and how it's actually going to be sold amongst investors?
Well, of course, every investor have their own different dynamics and things like that. So this is just what I do. It's a quick brain flip for me just to say if the price is even in a ballpark or something that I'm thinking of. Now, of course, I got it ebbs and flows by how the market conditions are. But a simple metrics that I use right after the financial crisis, years following that 2000, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, hell, almost before the COVID crisis happened. This is the
Right.
metric that I use just to see if it's in the realm of possibilities. I'm not saying this is a perfect method, but this is saying, hey, okay, this property, what the sale price is close to the number that I have in my head. So I'll, entertain it. So the only thing I do is for multifamilies, and again, this dynamic has changed since 2020 because of the rising prices of course, rents and how they're pricing rental properties. But what I used to do is this: I would see how much rent was coming into the rental property, no matter duplex, fourplex, fiveplex, no matter what. I see how much rent is coming into the property. So let's say if it's $3,000 a month coming into the property. Only thing I would do is times it by 10 months. And the only reason why I'm timing it by 10 months instead of 12 months is because 2 of those months, with all that rent that's coming in, that's going to be going towards property insurance and property taxes and things like that. But so the total rent coming in for the month times 10 months times 10 years. And then that's how I would go on it. So if we get in $3,000 a month in a multifamily, then I times it by 10 months, then I times it by 10 years. So that's $300,000. So if a property is going below that price, then you got me interested. If it's going above, but it's close to that realm, so we in the ballpark, so we can do a deal and then, we can sign a contract and then we can negotiate on the price from there. But if it's $3,000 a month and then they selling it for 500, 600, 700,000 dollars, I'm not going to entertain it because it's not worth my time to try to convince them to come down. And in the rental game or buying rental properties, you never want to pay list price. That's one. The second thing is you don't want to waste your time on something that's insurmountable. Like having a guy come down, if they got it for 700,000, they only bring in $3,000 a month. Having them come down $400,000 or $500,000, they're never going to do that. I mean, they might sit on the MLS for forever, but it's not worth your time to try to convince them to come down. I remember about a month ago, I saw a property that I liked. They had a price on there. It was close to my matrix, especially if I rose the rent or if I would raise the rents on the tenants after the fact. It was close to my metrics. And then so I reached out to the real estate agent and I said, hey, I'm willing to offer this price. Of course, he came down some and wanted to negotiate. No, I was just giving him my best offer. And I explained to him why. I don't ever just say, hey, this is my price. I've been doing this a long time. This is what I would do, and I ain't doing nothing else. I gave them my price and I explained to them the numbers, why I was only offering this price. This was my best offer. I couldn't go higher because it is way out of my realm of possibility. And then they probably laughed at me and said, no, we're not doing that. And magically, that same property a month later is still sitting on the market. In this condition now, those rental properties do not sit on the market. But other investors see the same thing that I'm seeing, that the property is not that high. And then, of course, I'm trying to play the game, and I still reach out to the realtor to see if they sell the house. I know they didn't, but see if they still sell the house to let them know, like, hey, my offer's still out there. But they have this imagination that they can sell something based on what I can potentially do later on. Everything that I do later on is work, effort, and money that I have to take out of my pocket. So I'm not gonna buy a property based on what I can do. I only buy properties based on what the seller has done. So if they say, hey, we got a property below market rents and the market rent is hell double from where it's at, I'm not gonna pay them the amount for the property of what the market rents are. I'm not paying them that multiple on the property because once I buy the property, whatever leases that they have in place, I have to honor those leases below market rent. I have to honor those. So I'm not gonna sit there and say, oh, well, I'll pay you as if they paying $1,400 a month when they're only paying $700 a month, because I gotta endure those months that they're paying $700 a month. I gotta, when that tenant moves out, because when I raise it to $1,400 a month, they probably can't afford it. I have to endure the tenant not being there and I'm not receiving revenue. I have to endure remodeling the place to get it rent ready for the next one. I have to pay all that cost, time and effort for it. So I'm not paying the seller for what I have to do. I only pay them for what they have done. So, and I'll give them a little multiple, a little higher than my realm if I think I can get this tenant out fast and then flip it over and then get new tenancy and paying a higher rate. But I'm not going to go extreme as to what the market rate multiple is to where it's at now, just to close the deal. So I'm willing to wait.
And just to clarify, when you're buying or valuing multi-unit properties, you're valuing it as a business, unlike a single-family residence where you value it on who's going to live there in the market as far as who lives in the area. Is that correct?
That's correct. I only value it on the revenues that it receives. I value it just as a business, just like I believe that it's easier to buy revenue than to create revenue.
Right.
So it's easier to buy a rental property that already have tenants in there than to create revenue, as in to get a plot of land and build a duplex and then advertise and things like that. It's easier.
And I just wanted to talk on that because a lot of people are so familiar with single family residences being sold, or, you know, valuing a property based off of the home they would live in, where, you know, marble countertops or tile flooring will add the value. Whereas in a rental property, a multifamily property, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're really just looking at what rent it's bringing in. You're not worried about, of course, you want the tenants to be comfortable in a living condition, but you know, the glamour within the property is not the interest of the investor, it's the rents that are coming in.
Right, and that's the only thing that matters to an investor is how much money they're receiving. They're not sitting there looking at, of course, they're not gonna go, depending on the investor, they're not gonna go buy a property that's in a war zone where, you know, shooting, police violence and things like that. They're not gonna do that, but they want their tenants to be comfortable, you know, for mica countertops and things like that, the granite and stuff like that, depending on the area, you know, depending on, like, if we in South Tampa or something, granite countertops probably is a necessity, you know, but for mica, everything's functional, livable, you know, no holes in the walls, of course, you know, you want it painted and all that, and you want them to have a comfortable lifestyle, but you're not trying to make it look like the Ritz-Carlton, you know, you wanted something that they can live in, because things are going to happen. So let's say you in a place, you rent it out for $600 a month or something like that, but you got marble countertops. Those marble countertops gonna get broken and stuff will happen, and then you're paying exorbitantly more to repair the place from the rent you're receiving in, and that's not how it works.
Right.
And as far as people, especially people new to the game, they look at areas, oh, well, I'll live there, I won't live there. It's really not about where you live. It's about the area itself. Like me, I live anywhere. I grew up in Detroit. I live anywhere. But you don't want to be in a place where, like I said, war zone, where you see shootings, crime rates high, and things like that. But you want to be in a place where it'll be comfortable for, hey, I'll live there, but it'll be comfortable for people of a certain dynamic. They'll live there also. You don't want to be sitting there drive-by shootings and you dealing with that dynamic. Because eventually your house will get drove by on because of the quality of people that's gonna be there.
Right.
So you don't want to set your standards so high and say, oh, where I will and won't live, but you don't want to set it so low of saying, well, they pay rent here, I'm in there. No, that right there will put you in a bad place. It puts you in a very bad place.